Hey everyone. Hey everyone, welcome. It is 1 p.m. on January 18th. We just got the closing bell. I apologize for missing this morning. I had my aunt actually passed away during the night, and I was with my family all night. And so I'm a little tired. We might keep this one kind of short just because I'm still a little worn out from the night. So let's go ahead and see what happened in the markets. We actually had a very active day in the S&P. It started out not so active, but in that last 2.5 hours, we got this strong surge upwards. At first, we did kind of look like we were going to go up, but there were a couple of bull traps right here. And then we finally got that surge upwards. We got the same thing in the QQQ. But what's really interesting, let's take a look at the daily. So it looks like we bounced off of that EMA 20 very hard and moved very sharply up above the EMA 8. If I look at the QQQ, same thing, bounced off that EMA 20, shot above the EMA 8, and we're basically at new highs right here, or matching the new highs. The high did create a new high in the QQQ. If we look at IWM, bounce off the MA50 and then an indecision bar today. And then if we look at the Dow Jones, we dipped below that EMA 20 and then bounced, and then we stopped right at the EMA 8. So Dow Jones not looking as strong and positive as the QQQ. And we had a really interesting open with the futures today. I don't know if I can get a graph for the futures, but this morning, what happened was the QQQ was up quite a bit in futures, and Dow Jones was down a good amount, a reasonable amount. So we had this huge divergence between the Dow Jones and the QQQ, and that tells us that something is up in the market. That's not normal. So we want to dig a little further, figure out what's going on, and just say, hey, is this a real effect? Is this a real lasting effect? Or is it just some sort of weird news that's happening? If we dig a little further, then what we would have found is that one of the companies that announced earnings was Taiwan Semiconductor, which is obviously actually the biggest player in semiconductors. So when they announced really good news, they gapped way, way, way up. This is up almost 10% today. So this brought the QQQ up. You can see that gap up on the QQQ as well, and that dragged the S&P up, but then it didn't do much for the Dow Jones, right? It's very sector specific. So we cannot trust these bounces just yet. We have to do a little bit more investigating and say, hey, is this exuberance going to spill out into other sectors? Is it going to keep on going, or is it just an anomaly? So we need to take a look at earnings. We are heading into earnings season, so we need to see, do we expect the earnings to keep on going this way? And is it going to be broad-based? Are we going to see it in staples and in healthcare and in financials and every other sector? Or is it just going to be isolated into the tech stocks and the semiconductors? If we look at our sectors today, I'm sure we'll see the same story. Semiconductors at the top, QQQ or XLK at the top, QQQ right up there with it, and the communications lagging a little bit behind. So it is very sector specific within the technology. So it of course did spill into the communications, but you can tell that it was very much isolated more so in the semiconductors. So this is not a broad-based bounce. It's not a giant rally. And then the other thing we want to see is if it's supported by bonds. So if I look at bonds, it's definitely not supported by bonds. So that bounce in the QQQ is contra to bonds. You see, we broke down today below the MA50. That is really bearish news for the QQQ, actually. So if we didn't have that Taiwan Semiconductor earnings, the very likely direction of the QQQ would have been down today along with bonds. Now, equities will not affect the bond market, at least not very much, very, very minimal. Bond market has a huge effect on the equities market. In terms of size, the currency markets are the largest. Next is the bond markets, the debt markets, and then come the equity markets. And the bond markets, I haven't looked in many years, but it used to be that the bond markets were over 30 times the size of the equity markets. And I would be surprised if it was less than that right now. If anything, it would be larger. So the bond markets have an effect on the equity markets, and not so much the other way around. So with this story and this breakdown below the MA50 in TLT or in bonds, we cannot expect this bounce in the QQQ to be really lasting or meaningful, not beyond a few days. For it to carry forward beyond a few days, we would have to have continuous positive news from earnings to allow it to keep on moving upwards. So we don't have that, or at least we don't have that yet. This bounce in the QQQ and the SPY, we're not going to get too excited about it, especially since it's not supported by the bonds. It's not supported. We didn't get the same type of bounce in the Dow Jones, and we definitely didn't get the same type of bounce in the small cap stocks. We did bounce, but that really strong indecision bar right there, that's bad news for small caps. Let's see if, let's take a look at our economic calendar. Got nothing really significant. Let's take a look at our earnings. Let's see what's happening today after the market. Mostly financials, basic materials, nothing too significant here. And then tomorrow before market opens, a lot of financials, one energy, SLB, Schlumberger. They're a very big name. So we will see there could be a large effect specifically in the energy sector. So today, I think I just saw, we had the natural gas report and the petroleum status report today. Let's see what happened in energies today. Kind of sideways, but we are making a swing low, or lower low right here. We did break below here. So that's kind of bearish for energies. And if we don't get great news out of SLB, then this could start moving down quite aggressively. So we'll want to keep our eyes out on energies, or maybe completely avoid energies tomorrow. The good news is that XLE isn't strongly, the energies are not strongly correlated to equities. They're more of a commodity. So if we get a breakdown in the energies, it won't necessarily drag other sectors along with it. And tomorrow's Friday, so there shouldn't really be anything tomorrow after market. Yeah, nothing showing up tomorrow after market. So just be careful. Don't get too exuberant about these bounces in the indices. And QQQ, SPY, QQQ, the high made a new high. The close is basically at the same place as the previous high. So if we start to break out, you definitely want to see momentum and conviction. Otherwise, it's going to be a false breakout. It'd be very easy for institutions and algorithms to take people out and just let them think that it's going up and then just chop the market down. So be very careful of that. Again, I'm going to emphasize and stress balanced positions. If you buy something, sell something, have something against it, or have a hedge against your positions, or just hedge your entire portfolio as a whole. Other than that, I think that's it. Just look out, just watch out right here. QQQ, I wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't get too excited, especially the SPY. It hasn't reached that same level, and really we're just still in the process of chopping sideways. Okay, so that's it for today. I will see you guys tomorrow morning.